Hello, Willowbrook family. Today's daily devo is found in 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 3 through 7. Back in 2009, I lost my dad to cancer. He had fought a 13-year battle with it, and he was ready for God to take him home. Still, we all dread that day when we lose a parent. A week after the funeral, the doorbell rang. It was a college kid that I had mentored. This guy had faced many losses in his life, and I had walked with him through some of them. Anyway, he stood on my front porch with a gallon of milk and some Pillsbury chocolate chip cookie dough. His first words were, "I'm sorry about your dad. When I am sad, I like to eat cookies with milk. Maybe we could eat some together." We spent the next few hours doing just that. And it was a welcomed, comforting moment. You know, God brings us comfort, not so that we can just be comfortable, but that we can share our comfort with others. In today's Devo, starting in verse 3, Paul opens this section with praise, not for deliverance from pain, but for the God who comforts in the middle of it. Paul calls God the Father of compassion. That phrase reflects God's tender nature. In Hebrew thought, compassion was tied to the heart and even to the bowels of mercy, the deepest seat of emotion. The Greek word for comfort is paraklesis, which means to come alongside and help. It's the same root word used for the Holy Spirit, our paraclete. And in verse 4, it gives us purpose to pain. God comforts us so that we can comfort others. The Christian life is never meant to be a closed circle. The mercy that flows into us must flow to others. Someone once said, God's comfort is not given to be hoarded, but to be shared. And then verse 5 reminds us that the measure of our suffering can also be the measure of our comfort. The more we walk closely with Christ, the more we will both share in his sufferings and his comfort. And finally, in verses 6 through 7, Paul turns the focus outward. The Corinthians' endurance would not come from avoiding pain, but from seeing how God's faithfulness in Paul's life guaranteed the same faithfulness in theirs. Comfort reproduces comfort. When God allows pain, it always has purpose. Because first, he draws us closer to himself, and then he equips us to minister to others. And finally, he reminds us that the story doesn't end in suffering. It ends in shared hope. Now, if you've walked through grief, loss, or fear, you carry within you a powerful testimony of God's sustaining grace. That experience isn't something to hide, it's something to value. Because someone around you now is walking the same dark valley you've already seen the other side of. Another person said, when you find yourself in the fires of affliction, remember, God keeps his hand on the thermostat and his eye on the clock. He knows what you can bear, and through it, he is shaping you into someone who can strengthen others, even if it's just the offer of some milk, cookies, and your time. As you comfort one another, have a great day in the Lord, Willowbrook.